Welcome to another episode of Mystic Mondays. I'm your host, Monica Bay, also known as the Healer in Heels, ready to bring you into the world of all things mystic. Join me for a journey of spiritual growth, enlightenment, and self-actualization as we explore the wonderful world of mysticism where no gifted soul gets left behind. If you'd like to call in live to the show, dial 678-495-4345. And now, get ready for Mystic Mondays with me, Monica Bay. Welcome to Mystic Mondays, where we dive deep into all things mystic. I'm Monica Bay, also known as the Healer in Heels, and I am an energy healer, psychic medium, purpose alignment coach, and a hypnotist. And for all of those tuning in for the first time, I was born with many spiritual gifts that I have worked on developing into powerful tools over the past 25 years. I named this show Mystic Mondays because I have a passion for mysticism and personal and spiritual progression. Hello, friends at WTTA 101.2 FM in Kentucky and Ohio, and friends at WDJY 99.1 FM. Thank you for tuning in. You can now watch live and listen to all exclusive uncensored content 24/7 at uimediaapp.com. If you have any questions or would just like to say hello during the show, you can reach us at 678-495-4345. Sorry about that. In today's episode, we're going to talk about communicating with, healing, and even influencing animals. We have a special guest, Sagrera, who is an animal intuitive, and she will also be providing deep insight into the topic. She'll be joining us later. Are you ready? It's going to be a phenomenal show, so let's get into it. Now, animal communication, that is the topic for today. It's a topic that a lot of people, myself included, find very, very interesting. First, it's important to mention that everyone has the ability to communicate with animals. This is something that is actually innate to us and as human beings, but we also have to work at something, opening it up. Some people, it comes very, very natural to, and some people just have to work at opening that up, but everyone can actually do it. But just because it becomes natural to people like me and people like Sagrera, our guest today, that doesn't mean that if that's something that doesn't come natural to you, that doesn't mean that you can't, be very, very strong at communicating with animals. So I'm going to tell you a story about when I was kind of testing with communicating with animals. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about psychometry. So I used to teach psychometry. And for those of you who don't know, psychometry is also known as psychic touch. So if any of you have seen the old 90s movie, The Craft, when the person in the store, the woman in the store, touched another woman's necklace that belonged to her mother. And then as soon as she touched the necklace, she started being able to tell her all kinds of things about her mother. That was basically psychometry. And so it's psychic touch. So how that works is that you touch an object, because the premise behind that is that anything that we as human beings, or any beings at all, touch, we leave a psychic imprint. We leave an energy imprint or an energy signature on everything that we touch. A pen, a chair, anything. So literally you can do psychometry on anything, including people and living things as well, plants. So I used to teach this, and what I did was let me first explain a little bit more about psychometry, how it works. So basically you touch, an object, and then you are able to kind of read the energy that is left on that object. And so I used to teach this to people and teach them how to maximize that and how to really work with it and develop it. And this is actually a skill too, just like animal communication, which we're talking about today. This is actually a skill that anyone can learn. So it's not something that you have to be, I like air quotes, psychic to be able to do, because it's something that comes natural to us. We do have the ability to read energy. And so that's what psychometry is. So back to the animal communication. When I used to teach psychometry, I decided one day to kind of play around with psychometry and try to read my dog by touching it. So I have two dogs. And I used to keep her in crates because dogs are den animals. They're supposed to like crates. So one time I was, just decided to touch my dog and just kind of tune into the energy and using psychometry. And so I did that, and through through doing that, I found out. So I saw images that she was showing me of her, not liking the crate, basically images of her looking out, peering out from the crate, and then feelings of loneliness, feelings of wanting to get out and explore, feelings of captivity, really. And so through that, I realized, oh my God, this dog does not like crates. I did it to my other dog. She loves the crate. So it's just something that's very interesting. But that was kind of probably my first, probably not my first, but one of my more interesting ways of when I communicated with animals. Because obviously, when you're communicating with animals, it's really really easy to start with your pets. And so yeah, I did that, and it was pretty cool. But through that, obviously learning that she doesn't like crates, I stopped putting her in the crate, and she became happier. Not that I knew she wasn't happy, but she seemed happy anyway. But yeah, so this is something that that was really cool to do, and you can use psychometry on animals. You can use psychometry on your objects, necklaces, like I said in the movie. Any type of object that someone has touched or carried around with them for a while, you can do that and really be able to read that energy. So let me explain what was actually happening though when I like touched her and I was tuning into her. So what was actually happening was that I was reading the energy, not just the energy imprints, but I was reading her past emotions, and I was able to tap into from her vantage point, because again, I'm seeing her looking, peering out through the crate. She's showing me those images as I was touching her and tuning in. She's showing me those images of her peering out through the crate, and in a way that was also a telepathic connection, because although I'm touching her with my hand, there's a certain telepathy that's happening as she's sending me these images. And as I am connecting with that, and also the emotions, she's sending me emotions behind those images. And so that is really the language of the universe and the language of telepathy. The language of telepathy is through images and through feelings and emotion. Because obviously a dog doesn't speak English. They can understand some things, right? But they don't actually speak English. So I can't actually say a sentence to her and she fully understands everything that I mean. But when you are connecting with an animal, you can actually connect to them through images, because we all understand that. Every living being can understand an image, they can understand an emotion and a feeling. And so that is how she was communicating with me. So it wasn't that I literally touched her and I received, she doesn't like crates. I touched her and I received an image of her staring outside, looking, and then a feeling of being lonely, a feeling of wanting to get out and doing more. So that is, the way that was actually working, what was happening behind the scenes, and the energy of that coming in through my hand. But it was also a telepathic connection that was created by connecting with my hand. Now, you don't have to connect with your hands. I'm just using psychometry as an example because that's my story of what happened. But you don't have to communicate with animals by touching them. There are many ways, which you're going to see with the guest today. There's many ways to communicate without having to physically be there and without having to touch an animal. But that's an easy way to start, especially if you're beginning at this and you're really interested in it. Then that's just an easy way to start. So I will actually tell you about my interesting experience with communicating with a lion, but I will tell you that later in another segment. So now it is time for Mystic Message. So prior to the show, I went into a deep meditation to see what would be received to share with you all today. And so I received this message very, very strongly. So I know that this is something that all of you need to hear, or at least the majority of you need to hear today. So the message is about patience. It is about being patient when you're trying to manifest things. So a lot of times we are trying to manifest things through many means, whatever your process is, whatever your, if you believe in the law of attraction and you're using simple law of attraction techniques, or maybe you're using law of attraction techniques mixed with some more spiritual practices, whatever those things are, a lot of times people get very, very frustrated and impatient when their manifestations are not happening. So you're trying to manifest something in your life, and it seems to be taking forever to happen. And so then oftentimes people end up losing faith. They end up thinking that, okay, well, I'm doing all this stuff and it's clearly not working because it hasn't happened yet. So the message today is about having patience in that and realizing that there are a lot of things that have to happen behind the scenes in order for depending on what you're trying to manifest. A lot of times, especially if it's something big, there are a lot of things that have to happen behind the scenes before you're going to see in your reality that thing manifesting. So again, there are a lot of things going on always behind the scenes, or maybe this person has to meet that person before this can happen. And and those circumstances have to be set up for that to happen. So there are a lot of steps that need to happen before something can come into your reality for you to see it. So it's important for you to have faith in your process and have faith in yourself and your ability to be able to manifest, because the worst thing you can do to a manifestation that you're trying to do is stop believing in it. That is the worst. That is the easiest way to kill a manifestation, is to stop believing in it. So again, the message today that I received is about patience and being patient, knowing that things will happen in their divine timing and that your manifestation is working. Now, all of my years of helping people maximize their manifestations and teaching people how to manifest more strongly, one thing that I've found is that if you are doing it correctly, okay, if you're using all the tools and you're believing in it and you have 100% faith in it, which is, it's easier said than done, I get it. But when you're doing all of that correctly, 99% of the time, it will always work. 99% of the time. Now that other 1% is simply, times where there's something blocking it. And that blocking could be you. It could be other circumstances that need to first get cleared out before that thing that you want can manifest. And so it's important to also, in your patience, look at those things. Am I blocking it? Because a lot of times, for instance, with money, there are a lot of people that have negative money mindsets, and they try to manifest abundance, right? And of course you want abundance consciously, but subconsciously you may feel like you don't deserve it, or that, money is not for me, or that money makes people evil, or whatever that is. So if you have and this is just an example of a type of manifestation, but if you have that kind of mindset, well, then that's what you're putting out into the universe. And that is going to block your manifestation of abundance for sure, because consciously you're saying you want it, but subconsciously you're saying you don't. Or that you don't deserve it, and pushing it away. So that's why the message today is so important, because having that patience in your life and in your manifestations is key. Keeping steadfast on your purpose and focusing on what you need to actually do. And again, that 1% also sometimes is because it could be that because the universe can correct itself too. You can try to manifest things and the universe will correct itself sometimes, because that's not something that you should have, because it may take you too far off of your path. Remember, we're here for a reason, and we do have certain things that we're supposed to achieve and certain things that we're supposed to do in this life. And sometimes when our own conscious decisions, because we do have free will, sometimes when our own conscious decisions get in the way of that, the universe can certainly correct itself. So that is what you have to remember. So again, it's about patience, and that is, the message for today. So now we're going to hold that thought and get right back into it after the break. Up next, we're going to meet Sugrira, an animal intuitive, who is going to give us some interesting perspectives on animal communication. Right after this, stay tuned. You're watching Mystic Mondays with Monica Bay.
Hey guys, I'm Shannon McVeigh.
I'm Tim Ray.
And we are Awaken Atlanta, here to tell you that on November 26th, we are going to have the Battle of the Sexes. I have Dina Babel as my partner.
And I have Hank Denson, a comedian, as my partner. And we're going to do 3 rounds of nonstop differences between the sexes. And I think we're going to take these ladies.
I think he's lying to himself like always. But make sure you guys tune in and also share this. Get the word out. See you there.
Welcome back to Mystic Mondays. I'm Monica Bay, and I'm here with our guest for today, Sagrera Perret.
Hi, Monica. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Sagrera is an animal intuitive. She is also raised in the Netherlands, which is pretty cool. And she has always felt a deep connection with animals. She now communicates with and heals animals all over the world. Sagrera, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Awesome. So first, I would like to talk to you a little bit about your how you came to communicate with animals. What was that like for you in terms of your path?
I guess I'll start sort of a little bit in the most recent time, which is about 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. One of my uncle, who's my dad's twin, passed away, and I went to see a medium, and Jamie Butler, actually, she's in Atlanta, and when he came through, and in the last 10 minutes of it, he basically was like, "You can do this," and I had always had an affinity for all things spiritual, but I didn't think I could do it myself, and then I sort of. With that little bit, I started studying Reiki and basically for one of my kitties. And then it started to come through really strongly. Mm-hmm. And what I was told is that actually as a child, I did communicate with animals really fluently. But around the age of 6, they sort of, the animals kind of helped me tone it down a little bit because I had to be human for a while and not, focus only on them. Because they were...
Oh, that's awesome. So what was it like to transition from, what were you doing before?
I was actually a full-time photography teacher at a university here in Atlanta.
Wow. Okay. So still using your artistic brain.
Yeah.
Your creative brain. That's good. So what was it like to transition into what you're doing now?
I love it. I mean, I loved teaching photography too. It's just that animals are my passion. Growing up, I was surrounded by them, and I've never seen a species hierarchy. I've always seen them as complete equals. So I really feel like it's my mission and my passion to work with them.
That's awesome. And I'm glad you said that because I also see animals as equals. And I know there are a lot of people out there that don't.
Yeah.
But I believe that an animal soul is just as valuable as our soul.
Absolutely.
And that, they also have life purposes as well.
Yes.
And they do have souls.
They do.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what healing modalities you use when you're healing animals.
Yeah, it kind of starts off as Reiki.
Okay.
So that's sort of where, what I start with. But what I discovered, because I focused since the beginning, I've only ever focused on animals. I can do it for people, but animals are really my main main concern, my main audience. So I realized that usually Reiki comes out sort of as, it looks like white light or clear, kind of white clear light to people who can see clairvoyantly. And one time I was sending it to my kitty and I noticed it was splitting into the individual color rays. And what I realized is that the animals actually are more aware usually, and they can tell what they need. So because I work exclusively with animals, mine just automatically was splitting. So it was kind of ready for them, and they could just be like, I need this, and kind of choose what they needed.
That's interesting.
And then I find that I always call in the animals' guides and higher selves. So I find that I also get a lot of support from, beings of light who come in and assist with the Reiki. So it's sort of like Reiki's the foundation. And then a lot of different things get added to it to help the animals.
Okay. That's interesting. So I like that you also said about the guides.
Yeah.
So what, in your view, how does that work with the animal, with the guides of the animals?
Yeah, it's very similar to when you work with a human. I've had some amazing experiences meeting their guides, because their guides are not always animal. They're not always human. Sometimes they're, angelic or beings from other realms. So it's fascinating for me to meet them.
Awesome. So I saw on your website that you had I saw a review on your website where someone had said that you connected with their animal after they passed.
Yeah.
So you're an animal medium as well?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
cool.
I'm a medium. I can communicate with like people that have crossed over too. It's just that I prefer to work with animals, but it's the same. It works the same way, and it's really lovely to connect with animals. And I feel like it really helps people, because it's such a hard thing to go through when an animal crosses over.
Yeah, it is. And even in the review that I read on your website, where the person was saying that, and I'm sure you have more, but the one that I read, that she was saying how much it helped her, really get through that time, because when people have animals are pretty much their children.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I have 2 dogs, and they're pretty much my children, because I don't have any other children. So they're my children.
Me neither.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your healing process when you're healing dogs or animals, because it's not just dogs, right?
So I do both. Like I can do healings and or communication, but usually it all works together. As I'm sure that's why you're asking it. But with the healing, it really is. I connect with animals through a photograph. That's usually my easiest way. I can do it without, but I prefer to look at a photo of them, and I do everything remotely. It actually helps me a little bit not to get distracted, because sometimes when I'm in the room with the animals, I want to interact with them.
Oh, okay.
So I connect with the photo, and I call in, like I said, I call in their guides, their higher self, and and then I basically I send Reiki if they have a physical something going on with them physically, like an illness or pain or something like that. The way it works for me is that I feel it in my body. Like I feel where it is. I don't feel it to the same degree that they're feeling it. But for example, if they were maybe had a broken or a sprain, in their wrist area of their front leg or something, I would feel it in that, in my wrist.
Okay.
So that helps me to sort of direct their human parent for when they go to the vet, because I'm not a replacement for a vet. I'm just a complement. So, but it can help them sort of with the direction of how to proceed in terms of helping them get medical care too.
Okay, so when you're feeling what's happening with them in your body, basically you're also an empath.
Yeah.
Okay. You have a lot of gifts. Well, usually people who can communicate especially with animals, but just any kind of mediumship, there's a lot of other gifts. So let's get into what your other gifts are. What are your other gifts?
Oh my goodness. So I'm able to, like you were talking about earlier with the images, they show me images. I can see, sometimes it's a still image. Sometimes it's more like a movie, like a moving where they'll show me a situation. Sometimes when we go into past lives with the animals and the humans, I'll see them more like little movies almost with my third eye. And then, feelings. I feel, they send me the emotions. I thought what you said was interesting too, because often the animals get frustrated because they are aware that the words have limitations. So even though we're using words to convey to the human parent or the human companion what they want, sometimes it's there's not enough words to convey the depth of emotion that they're feeling for them.
Yeah.
So I feel, and then, and I do with the clairaudience, it's more and I do communicate with their guides too. So sometimes it does come in words too for me, but it's a combination of all the things really. And the words, like you said, don't always do it justice. But it's just trying to, get as close as we can.
Little bits and pieces of information, but it's not the whole picture. But when you are able to just telepathically communicate with them, you can get the full out. So what is your experience in, do you also telepathically, it sounds like, obviously, communicate with them and kind of?
Yes. So with the ones that are alive, it's a little bit more straight up telepathy, but then also adding in the higher self. But then with the ones that are in spirit, it's a little bit more like mediumship, where I'm just, I guess it's the same still, but it's a little different.
Well, because even in mediumship, they're still communicating with you with images and feelings, right?
Yeah, but then with that, they have a little bit more of a perspective, I guess. So from being on the other
because
side,
they're a soul now.
Yeah, so sometimes it's a little bit of everything.
That's true. I didn't think about that. I've never tried to connect to a deceased pet before.
It's in my experience, it's the same as communicating with like a human.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, that's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
So when was your first time actually connecting with a deceased pet?
Oh my gosh, the first time was actually a friend of mine's kitty had crossed over kind of suddenly, and she I don't even think I was doing it professionally yet, and she just asked me if I could like send a little Reiki or something to the situation, and I was tuning into him, and all I kept seeing was images of shooting stars. Like in space. So I was kind of like, that's not what I was expecting. So I was like, maybe I'm watching too much like Star Trek or something. Like I didn't understand why that was coming because I wasn't doing like a lot of like sessions really yet. And so I just told her what I got. And then the next morning she called me and she said that the last like hour as he was getting ready to cross, that's all she kept telling him is, "You're my shooting star." And so it was actually really meaningful for her, even though for me I didn't realize at the time what he was, what it was about.
Yeah, and that is very similar to human because when I'm doing any kind of mediumship, a lot of times it'll be something that the spirit will say to me and it means nothing to me. I have no idea, but I'll repeat it and it means everything to the other person. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they also taught me to say whatever comes through, even if it doesn't make sense to me. Because sometimes I don't really know why, a little piece is being shared.
Yeah. And so you've found that you're obviously able to help a lot of people throughout that process. Right, of grieving.
Yeah, I'm really grateful to be able to help because I went through it with my first two cat sons, and so I know kind of how that felt and how much I needed help around it too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's really it really helps. I don't think our society has the systems in place to help humans grieving for animal losses the same way they do human losses.
No, they don't. They don't.
So we're getting there, but not quite there yet.
Yes. So, do you feel like and we kind of already touched upon this a little bit, but I'd like to just hear from your own.
Yeah.
Do you believe that there are many differences, or are there any differences between healing an animal and healing a human?
Not really. I guess one of the things that is more unique to animals, in my opinion, is that animals sometimes will take on things for their humans. And I don't see that so much with the other way around, where humans are taking things on for their animals. So, for example, sometimes if a human is struggling with something, whether it's a psychological or physical issue, sometimes the animal will kind of try to like reflect that to them or model it to them a little bit in order to help bring light to the situation.
Really? Okay.
So, so that happens sometimes, and really the best way to assist the animal with that is to, once it's recognized, then the human can kind of make the changes in their own life. And then that in turn helps the animal.
Yeah.
But in terms of just straight up healing, like if they're hurt or, they're depressed or something, it's pretty much the same.
Okay. Yeah. So that's interesting because I believe too, especially in the story I told earlier about connecting to my dog, and I was so upset to find out she didn't like I'm like, all this time I've been putting her in the crate and she didn't like it. But so like tapping into that emotion, really animals have the same, emotions.
Absolutely, completely. And I love how you shared that about the crate, because that's one of the things I think sometimes when we get puppies, there is this like idea that things have to be done a certain way.
Yeah.
And for some puppies, they really need to be close to you rather than like in a separate room in a crate. So it's very individual.
Because my two dogs are completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're talking about healing an animal of, like, say you said depression and things like that, do you find that there's anything in particular that for animals that is the root cause most of the time of depression?
I don't know if there's just one thing. It depends. I would want to
anything that I would want to
separate. I would want to separate. There's animals that have trauma in their past.
Yeah.
So I would say almost that's a separate category because for them it's sort of about healing what they've been through.
Yeah, for sure.
And then there's animals that don't have that situation, but sometimes, a lot of times, being separated from their people when they're alone a lot, that can create problems. The other thing that I've been seeing lately is that sometimes animals are so sensitive to energy. So if
They're very
there's negative
sensitive,
energy
yeah.
in any way coming into the home, either people bringing it back in or something, if an apartment's around, so helping to clear spaces for them. That's a really great way to help too.
Yeah. And I find that dogs are, I'm just saying dogs. I keep saying dogs. I
Yeah.
mean to say animals, but because I have dogs. But but I find that animals in general are very empathic, right?
Absolutely.
Extremely, like they just absorb
Yes.
everything, from their environment. So so people like you are very well needed.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. So connect with us online and follow us on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Speaker, and all podcasting platforms as UI Media Network. Tune in tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for the Health Matters show when Dr. Nelson will interview the president of Relax Saunas of Momentum. And it'll be really interesting. In the next segment, we'll be taking questions, so please call 678-495-4345. Up next, we're going to learn some practical methods you can use to communicate with animals right after this. You're watching Mystic Mondays with Monica Bay.
Do you want to learn how you can stop sabotaging yourself? I'm here with Dr. Vern Morgan, and I think he's about to tell you just that.
There's great new technology which will allow you to change the old negative programming into very positive strategies. And we do that by using and delivering repetitively these strategies, bypassing the conscious mind and influencing the subconscious mind.
And to learn more, go to unitedintentions.org and click on Shop and make the authentic change today.
Welcome back to Mystic Mondays. We are here with Sagrera, animal intuitive and healer, and we're having some pretty awesome discussions today. So I hope you mystics and mystic hopefuls are ready to learn some great tips of how you can work with animals and communicate in a very powerful way. And we are back.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So when you're healing animals, you said earlier about your, when you can feel the things in your wrist or
Yes.
something like that. So what protective measures do you put in place for yourself to make sure that you don't really absorb any illness or a lot of, trauma or anything from the pets?
Absolutely. I actually, whenever I set up a healing situation, it's sort of like, or anytime I do a reading, really, I call in all the protections in advance.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
So I feel pretty safe, starting off, and then afterwards, I always make sure to, sort of give back anything that's not mine, call back anything that is mine. So I just, sort of with intention, and then I make sure to clear myself. With animals, I almost worry more about the other way around, whereas versus with people, I would probably take more extra precautions. But animals are generally just so pure, that I do still take precautions, but not, in the same way. Like I usually kind of just clear with intention.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have there been times in the past when you first started that you were taking on anything before you got the hang of your own?
I haven't really had an issue where I was taking on anything, but what I have had to do is sometimes if the symptom is too loud, like I had one little dog that had like tinnitus, and it felt like really loud in my ear. So I just asked the guides to basically turn it down a little bit.
Okay.
So ever since then, I kind of learned to, that I can still feel a sensation without feeling the acute pain. So I don't feel the whole thing. I just feel almost like a hint of it, just to let me know where it is, so I can share that with the humans.
Okay. Yeah. And so when I've, obviously, I'm a healer too.
Yeah.
So when I've healed my pets as well, I've definitely felt that, and I do the same thing where it's like, okay, I don't want all of it.
Exactly.
I just want to be aware of it.
Yeah, or you can transmute if you need to transmute something.
Exactly.
You can do that too.
Yeah. So you use transmutation
That's a good
lot.
question.
Yeah. Thank you. So when you're healing an animal too, and you are, do you use transmutation a lot when you're doing Reiki, or do you just let the energy do what it does?
I generally, because there's so much guidance coming in to assist me with it, I generally tend to let it do its thing, unless there's something specific that comes forward, like some kind of density that needs to be transmuted, and then I do.
Okay, so you just allow yourself to be guided in your awareness and kind of doing what needs to be done.
Yeah, I work really intuitively. Like I really don't have like rules. I let each animal is so unique and individual that I kind of just allow, them to show me how to
Yeah.
proceed.
Well, I think that's the best way to do healing, period, no matter who you're healing, because, you know, when
Yeah.
you're doing it intuitively and you're guided, then you're
Yeah.
always just guided to the right places of exactly what's needed to happen. Yeah. Yeah. And then using, you know, your healing ability. So are you, what level Reiki are you?
I'm a Reiki master.
You're a Reiki master?
Yeah.
Me too.
Yay!
High five.
High five.
Okay. And
And I use crystals. I like to use crystals to
Yeah.
help too. And what I do is when I start sending Reiki, I let the animals choose which crystals they want. So it's always different with that too.
okay, yeah. So tell us about the crystals, using crystals with the animals, because you're especially also when a lot of people are thinking of doing crystals, they think of you have to, you know, be there in person, and you're not, which you don't have to be
Right.
in person. But
So
tell
I'm
people how
working
you do
remotely
that.
with the animals,
Yeah.
but the crystals I have at home.
Yeah.
And so I have the photo of the animal, and then I will, but I'm connecting with them, and I'll ask, you know, which crystals will best serve them in that healing. And I usually get pretty clear, you know, guidance on a few different crystals. And then I'll sort of like just place them around the photo and like just really have the intention that they're going to collaborate with the healing.
Okay.
And then, of course, I clear them, you know, afterwards in between, you know,
Yeah.
uses and everything.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yay. So you can work with crystals remotely with in healing other people or animals and pets. We're talking about pets today, so we're going to stay on that. So, do you find that animals have similar emotional energy causes to their illness? Because what I've found in humans is that usually when illnesses are rooted in something emotional. So have you found the same in animals?
Yes, absolutely. Both, and again, both with their own emotions, and then
Other
sometimes the
people's,
humans'
yeah.
emotions too. So it's like a little layer there. So it's interesting because I feel like sometimes people won't take steps to help themselves just for themselves, but sometimes when they understand that their animal may be suffering because of it, then they will. So it's kind of interesting how they, in a way, help us so much with staying healthy.
So do you tell pet parents that?
Yeah, I
And
share
are they
whatever.
surprised when you say those
whatever
things?
comes through. Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah, sometimes they're like, "Oh no," and then you know, it's not anything to be like feel guilty about. It's just
Yeah.
something to be aware of so that we can help, you know, stay healthy and help them stay healthy.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't realize also when you're going through something,
Yeah.
other people are going through it with you, whether they are aware of it or not, because of the
Yeah.
energy, and also your pets and any people in your home really are definitely going through it with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, energetically, and everyone is being affected by it.
Yeah.
So that's why I always tell people to put yourself first, because if you are not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of others.
Yes.
That's another mystic message.
True.
So
For
tell me your most interesting experience in either communicating or healing an animal.
Oh my gosh! And I've been trying to think about this because it's like they're all so interesting to me.
I know.
A couple. There's one. I'm sorry. There's one that there's a couple that kind of stand out a little bit. There was one. This was kind of an unusual situation, but somebody had gifted a friend of theirs a session, which usually I work directly with the human companions. And so I was talking to this dog, and some past life stuff was coming up, and one of the past lives was the dog and his currently human mom, and they were in a past life. He was a dancing bear, and she was like the person that like sort of helped, you know, I guess kind of helped with training him. But she was very kind to him. And then in that life, the other people weren't so kind, so she actually ran away with the bear to like keep him safe.
Oh.
And then I told, and then I sent the notes along, and then later on I found out that this particular family had actually had a photo or painting they found of a dancing bear that they bought years ago, and it was hanging in their
interesting.
living room because it reminded them of their dog. And that was so odd,
That's
but
amazing.
it's cool.
Yeah.
And then recently, this kind of ties in a little bit with what you were talking about, but there's a little dog named David that I had talked to him a few times, and his mom contacted me because he was acting very strange and like only wanting to stay in the bathroom. And then, and they had, coincidentally or not, they have new neighbors upstairs.
Okay.
So I talked to him, and it really was fully connected to this new family moving in and some of the density that they were bringing into the space.
Okay.
So that was a really good example, I think, of an animal basically showing, because the mom was feeling it too, but she didn't know why.
Yeah.
And he was really showing her something's wrong here. We need to like make sure we keep our place clear, and there's other stuff coming in. So
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about, because you had mentioned the dancing bear. So now I'm curious your thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on, like, past lives and stuff like that with animals?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know, and I know that all lives are happening at once. It's just easier to talk
This
about
is true.
it.
This is true.
It's just easier to talk about it in that way. But I find that a lot of times they're connected to their, it's like soul families, and there's a lot of times there's soul recognition, and that's how when we meet them, we recognize them.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. It looks like we have a caller. So we have a question. Hello, caller.
Hey, this is Deborah.
Hi, Deborah. How are you?
I'm great.
Wonderful.
And honestly, I haven't listened to too much of your previous content, but I do have an animal question.
Okay. All right. Shoot.
All right. So I feel like my dog needs doggy Prozac. She is so, like, when I put my shoes on, she knows I'm leaving the house. She starts like shaking and shivering. And I just don't know how to make her more comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah. No. That's actually it's not uncommon. I think it's very. Do you have other dogs, or is it just the one?
Right now, it's just the one.
Just the one.
There were 3 and 2, and now there's 1, and she probably has dementia. She's 13 years old. She's 4 pounds. I know little dog syndrome.
Oh no! It can be hard. I think, especially when they've been used to having companions, and then when they're at that age to just be alone. Is there any way that you could take her with you to work, or find a way to have her be like in a situation where she was with someone for part of the day?
Well, whenever possible. My sister works from home and lives just a few miles away. So we do drop her off over there whenever we can, but it's not always possible.
Yeah. I think, I would have to talk to her, but I think that generally the more you can do to have her be with someone so she doesn't feel alone, because it just really feels like at this point it's just almost like scary to be alone. Like she really just needs that comfort. So I think that would be, if there's anything at all you can do to not have her be alone so much. And I know that it's hard because we all have, we have to go to work and we have things to do. But that sounds great with your sister. I think that's a really good solution.
Yeah, I would say definitely.
About this? So my husband insists that we leave the TV on.
That's good. Yeah.
Human voices. Do you think that's viable?
Yeah. The other thing I've heard that sometimes animals ask for their own person, like their parents, to record something. So you could record something so that it's your voice also, in addition to the TV. So that's nice sometimes to have that connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
They make that doggy camera. I forget what it's called. Have you heard of that? Where you put it on the floor and it notifies you by an app if your dog's barking or sleeping, and then you can talk to your dog.
Oh, that's cool. I don't know if I know
never
about
heard of that
one. That's
but
really
that's
cool.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah. I've heard of one that shoots out treats. I don't know.
Oh,
which
that's
is
good
kind
too.
of interesting.
I think that might be the same thing, because it shoots out treats so that the dog will go over to it, and then you talk to the dog through it.
I really like that idea. The other thing, you can also just, if you begin to communicate with her telepathically, that's another way that you can sort of connect with her when you're away. That's something that a lot of animals ask for when they are, when their humans are out of town. So, and I'm going to give some tips in a little bit about how to do that, but that's something else that you can do so that, you're sending her positive energy and reminding her that you're thinking of her and connected to her.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Deborah, for calling in.
Thanks.
All right, I'll listen for your tips.
Awesome.
Thank you. Bye.
Great.
Thank you. Okay, so why don't we get into the tips now?
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I actually wrote them down so I won't forget anything. So it's basically 5 steps to beginning animal communication. And I really, truly believe everybody can do this. So the first step is to unprogram the concept of a species hierarchy. So what I mean by that is that most of us have been taught that there is a hierarchy. For example, there's certain animals that that are smarter, and then we kind of go on to like the human, which supposedly is at the pinnacle. So in my opinion, for true communication to occur, we have to be communicating to each other as equals. So it's okay if you can't get rid of the entire species hierarchy in your mind right away, but at least, unprogram the part that concerns your animal. Secondly, drop into your heart space and send love from your heart to their heart. And this applies whether they're alive or in spirit. And then allow space and time for a response. And then trust the very first thing that comes through. That's the main thing I can emphasize, is that whatever comes quickly, that's it. It doesn't matter if you hear it, see it, feel it. It could just be a song or a memory. And then afterwards, thank them. And if it feels right for you, continue, so that it's like a muscle, so you can continue growing it.
Awesome. Well, those are some very, very great tips. Thank you for that.
Thanks.
So let everyone know how they can find you.
Okay. My website is just Sigrera.com, and on Instagram, it's Sigrera also, and Facebook, I think, I'm Sigrera Animal Intuitive. So if you can just figure out my first name, how to spell
it for them,
then you can find me.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here and sharing your authentic self with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I loved it.
Thank you. Okay. Well, that was some great information. The wonderful Sigrera Animal Intuitive.
Thank you.
So tune in on Wednesday for Good Intentions Show at 11 a.m. as Tim Ray sits down with Men's Wellness Associate Kara Medulla. Up next, we're going to continue with some more deep discussions around animal communication, and we have a special challenge for you right after this. You're watching Mystic Mondays with Monica Bay.
Download the UI Media Smart app at uimediaapp.com to watch and listen to all your favorite shows anytime from anywhere in the world. Shows that enrich, entertain, educate, and feeds the conscious cells throughout your body. We bring you never heard before topics in health, inspiration, music, psychics, numerology, current affairs, controversies, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.uimediaapp.com and start raising your frequency now.
Welcome back to Mystic Mondays with me, your host, Monica Bay. Okay, let's get back to it. So it is time for Mystic Challenge. The first person who calls in who can answer today's challenge question correctly will win a gift that can speed up and amplify your psychic abilities. Call 678-495-4345 within the next few minutes to participate. So, while we're waiting, let me tell you, I said earlier I was going to tell you guys a story about my experience in communicating with a lion. But first, we have someone calling in for the Mystic Challenge. Hello? Hello, caller.
Hello, I'm calling in from the Mystic Challenge.
Hi. What's your name?
Daniela.
Daniela. Hi, Daniela. Thank you for calling in. So here's how we play. There are 3 questions. You can choose the number 1, 2, or 3. And if you answer this question correctly, then you will win the prize. So pick 1, 2, or 3.
I'm going to pick the number 3.
Okay. So the number 3 is, the question is, who is the ancient Egyptian god of communication? Drum roll.
Oh gosh, ancient Egyptian. I feel like it's on the top of my. Oh no, I'm right now I'm saying Cleopatra, but I know that's wrong.
No, yeah, that's not right.
I don't know. Ancient mystic god. I don't know.
Okay.
Darn.
Okay. Well, the answer is Thoth. He is the god of wisdom and communication. Was that on the tip of your tongue?
Can you say the name again? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
It's Thoth. Thoth.
No, I didn't know. No.
Oh, okay.
Not what I was thinking, but now I know.
Yes, now you know.
Next time someone asks me.
Yeah,
I'll have the trivia question.
exactly. Well, thank you for participating. Next time.
Okay,
All
I'll
right.
call in again. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Bye-bye. So now that we're talking about Thoth, let me give you a little bit of information, about Thoth, because Thoth is a very interesting and powerful ancient Egyptian god that a lot of people still to this day work with. And so Thoth is the god of communication, of divine wisdom, of things in writing. And so what happens is people today, in today's day and age, we talk a lot about Akashic records, right? So when you're talking about Akashic records is kind of a new age term. And but it's a new term for something that has always existed. And basically what the Akashic records really are is just, the universal knowledge that has always existed, that contains everything that ever was, is, or ever will be. And they've also called that the Book of Knowledge or the Tree of Knowledge, but it's all the same thing. So if you were to look at, Thoth, Thoth would be the one holding these records. Okay, so Thoth is the god of divine wisdom and all of this knowledge. So you can actually use Thoth by meditating with him to receive divine knowledge, to receive divine guidance, to receive divine information. You can connect with Thoth and meditate with him to use that. Other ways that you can use Thoth is to connect with him to find things. So I'll tell you what I do. It's very interesting because I'm very well connected with a lot of ancient Egyptian deities. Just the energies resonate with me very well. So I work with Thoth sometimes too, whenever I'm missing something. So if I can't find something, which my phone is always missing. So if I can't find my phone, for instance, and people who know me have seen this happen many times. So I'm looking for something in my house or whatever. I can't find something. So what I'll do is I just very quickly, connect with Thoth. And I literally, because I'm also a medium, so I can literally see the divine image. I see him, and then he literally points to where it is, and I go to where he pointed to, and that's exactly where I end up finding what I was looking for. So I use that all the time. So that's just an example of a way that you can use Thoth for those connections. And also another way is to invoke his energy to be a better communicator. Because remember, is the god of communication, divine wisdom. So you can also invoke his energy for those types of things. And invoking is just embodying the energy, the essence of what that thing is that you're invoking. So that's what that is. So fun fact for today, that is a way that you can use Thoth very, very well. So if anyone else wants to call in for the challenge, you can definitely do that still. And again, that number is 678-495-4345. So you can still call in and take advantage of that Mystic Challenge because the gift is a powerful one. So humans have been connecting with animals since the dawn of time. From communicating with lions and birds in ancient Africa, to communicating with wolves in Europe and Asia, to the shamanistic practice of communication with animals throughout the world. This has been happening for millennia. But our ability to connect with animals is innate, and we need only to open ourselves up to that communication. And as we do, we open ourselves up to the reality that animals experience the world from an energy standpoint, very similar to the way humans do. Yet their perspective can sometimes be quite profound. We often see, animals as less than, as Sagrira was saying. We often see animals as less than, and like we create this, this hierarchy of humans at the top, of course, when we're really all equal, and the energies that exist within them are the same energies that exist within us. They're just their form is different, and their form may have a little more limitations than ours do. But in the same respect and in the same vein, their form actually, from a spiritual standpoint, can have less limitations than we do, because we have our conscious thoughts, because we have our conscious mind that can get in the way of our spiritual mind. That limits us as human beings. Animals don't have that same burden. they are that this is why, animals can see spirits, and they're better tuned into those frequencies more easily than we are. And so, but this is why, because, we have these things. So there's pros and cons of each. But the point is, you can communicate with animals, and communicating with animals can really teach you a lot about yourself, can teach you a lot about the world, and can teach you a lot about what's really happening, in the universe. So I'm going to tell you a story. Again, I told you earlier I was going to tell you a story about my experience in communicating with a lion. So I'm very nerdy. For those of you who don't know, you will know I'm very nerdy. So a group of friends and we decided to go to the zoo and test communicating with animals. So we decided to go to a zoo, and we went into the lions area, and there was a lion sitting there for a very long time, just kind of sitting there. You know how they're very sedentary. So he was just kind of sitting there, very sedentary. And we decided we wanted to really test the concept of collective consciousness on telepathy. So what we did was we're standing there staring at this lion. Okay, now I'm going to set the scene because we're in a zoo. So obviously there's people walking by with their kids. There's people and we're this group of people just staring at this lion. But so we did it for about 2 minutes, trying to, not seem weird. And we did it for about 2 minutes collectively all together. And what we were doing, our goal was to get the lion to, it was sitting in one location, in one spot for a very long time. Our goal was to get the lion to get up and move to a very particular spot in the yard. So what we did was we connected to the lion to get him to move to a very specific. Now this is more than telepathy. This is actually an animal influence. This is what I was talking about earlier in the show. Is you can not only communicate with animals, but you can also influence them through the use of telepathy. So this is what we were testing. So just after a few minutes of staring and sending these telepathic messages to this lion, it literally got up and moved to the exact location that we were trying to get it to move to, and sat down and just started to rest there. And so that was pretty cool. And it's amazing because as many amazing things, and I've done a lot of amazing things, and my colleagues and stuff, we've all, done a lot of amazing things. But every time you do something, even though it's going to work, it's like you still get amazed at it. So that was pretty cool. And but let me explain to you what was actually happening. So we connected, to the lion, and we were, again, the language of telepathy is images and feelings. So what we did was we sent images to the lion of it walking over to the location that we wanted. We sent images of what the location looked like. We sent images of the lion actually being happy there. And so doing all of that, we basically, through those images and feelings, we were sending the message to the animal, you'll be happier over here, so you should get up and move. And then basically that's what the animal ended up doing. So that's my story of communicating with a lion, which was a lot of fun. So it looks like we have a caller for the Mystic Challenge. Caller,
Hi,
you're
there.
on.
Hi there. My name's Lisa.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you, Lisa? Thank you for calling in. So I'm assuming you want to play the Mystic Challenge.
I guess we're going to give this a try.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. Let's do it. So you can pick. Now we already did 3, so you can pick 1 or 2.
Okay. I'll pick 1.
Okay. So the question is, why is fire so commonly used in so many manifestation rituals? Drum roll. We should have Jeopardy music.
Well, it's always been used as an attention getter, and I'm thinking in the Bible it was used, right, as in several instances. So I guess I would say it would have something to do with showing power and getting attention.
Well, the power part is correct. So here's the answer. So power. So you're right that it's been used in the Bible. It's been used in every religion, and the reason why is because very, very early in humanity, we realized the power of fire. Fire is both destructive and it's also creative because it transforms. Fire is alchemy.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. And
I love that.
yes, and fire is really pure power. And so really what happens is fire magnifies the power of intention, making your manifestations more stronger. So that is why fire is used so often.
I love it. Very well
Yay.
said.
Awesome. Thank you so much for playing. So you win the gift. So the gift today,
Wow.
yay! Congratulations.
Thank you. I love it.
Yay! So the gift today is a Monica Bay Healing Stone that I have personally programmed. That's going to help you open up specifically to the frequencies that will allow you to communicate better with animals.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love it. Thank
Awesome!
you.
You're welcome.
I am
You're welcome.
honored.
Congratulations.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Awesome.
That
So-
means a lot.
Yay! So if you hold on the line, we will get your information and make sure that gets sent out to you. And I hope you enjoy.
Well, thank you so much. This is awesome. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too. Thank you all for watching Mystic Mondays. I'm Monica Bay, the healer in heels, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching Mystic Mondays with me, Monica Bay, also known as the Healer in Heels on United Intentions Media Network. Want to see more of me? Be sure to follow me on all social media at The Real Monica Bay. Join me next time on Mystic Mondays as we continue to elevate and illuminate all things mystic. Until next time. Stay updated on all UI Media shows at www.uimediaapp.com.
The United Intentions Foundation and its associates take no responsibility for the opinions and statements made by the talk show hosts or their guests.